Hello, I'm Philip Marris, the CEO of Marris Consulting. We're here in Paris shooting another session of a guest at Marris Consulting, and I'm with Spyros, who discovered this strange thing called the theory of constraints 18 years ago, and I wanted to ask him to describe what's happened in those 18 years. What were the different stages in his discovery of the theory of constraints? So tell us about it. Tell us about yourself, what you do, when it all started, and how you got to be here in the studio.
Hello, Philip. My name is Spyros. I'm coming from Cyprus, and it really all started 18 years ago when I was reading a traditional project management book, and in that book I came across the concept of critical chain project management, and I liked the title. I thought that something promising is behind of that title. So I went out and I bought the book of Eliyahu Goldratt, Critical Chain. And from that moment, a new world opened for me. I came in front of concepts that I never knew, of definitions that I've never heard, of things that I didn't know that existed. And I didn't understand them at that time. So I started buying books, searching the internet, and trying to find around what all these things are. Mm-hmm. So the next step is that I bought the goal. I read it in 2 days, and I realized that there are much more that I knew. So
what were you doing at this time?
At that time, I was the supply chain manager in the biggest dairy in Cyprus. So I started buying books, one behind the other, and at some point I came across the thinking process tools and the thinking process methodology of theory of constraints. So I started buying Mr. Dettmer's books, and I started reading them and trying to understand them and applying them all by myself. So 10 years after that, 6 years after that, I was in charge of a merge of the two biggest dairies in Cyprus for the logistics side, for the supply chain side. So I implemented the replenishment solution. And at the same time, I was enrolled in Dr. Holt's courses, online courses with the Washington State University. And I started learning in a systemic way what theory of constraints is and what you can do with it. After that, Dr. Holt convinced me to participate in the TOC ICO conference in Germany in 2013, and I was a speaker there. It was a great experience for me, and I have started actually meeting real TOC people, and there is where I met you as well. Mm-hmm. And after that, I went back to Cyprus, thinking a lot about all these things. I got in different forums. I was watching everything on the internet, and I found out that there is an event going on about theory of constraints in the University of Strasbourg. So I went there as a speaker as well, and I realized that there is an interest of that university in the theory of constraints. So I engaged myself into a research program there for my PhD thesis in the theory of constraints in the service environment, which is I chose to be healthcare. Mm-hmm. And the more I read about it, now I'm in the second year, the more I read about it, the more I realize certain things. And I realized certain gaps that I had in my knowledge, that I wanted to put all these things together. And that's why I decided to take the thinking process course taught by Mr. Dettmer here in Paris. And that's why I'm here now. And it unlocked, again, another world, deeper than the one that I realized before, and much deeper than what I realized 10 years ago, or 18 years ago. So actually, something that I forgot to mention is that 4 years ago, I implemented the drum buffer rope in the cheese factory, in the cheese production plant that we are producing halloumi, famous Cyprus cheese.
Yeah, and you're the largest producer in the world.
Yes, and at that time we were producing approximately 10 tons or 11 tons daily, and with the implementation of the drum buffer rope we managed to produce 23 tons daily, and creating the biggest manufacturing plant in the world of that time. I'm convinced about the results. I have seen them, I have heard them, I read about them, I found them through the research, and I'm stick to it.
So, for those that don't know what Eliyahu Goldratt proposed, he proposed imagined solutions such as drum buffer rope in manufacturing or in operations, critical chain project management for projects, and replenishment solution in supply chain, and you've been implementing those with success, and you've also got very interested in the thinking processes or the logical thinking processes, which were also initiated by Eliyahu Goldratt, and so you're studying what I consider to be the both significant halves of all his ideas. And when you've been, obviously people listening will realize you read a lot, and you're very curious, and you've been investigating the subject of the thinking processes for many years now, and you've just come through today the 6-day course with Bill Dettmer. Does that course sort of bring all the what you've read about the thinking processes together and put it in perspective? Does it clear your mind as to what the potential, what the subject is?
Well, it has taken the fog away, because the more you read from different perspectives, different authors, you get different opinions, and sometimes this can be confusing. Now, the Dettmer's course here, it aligned everything in a magical way somehow. I don't know how he did it. He's just incredible on the way he communicates things. What helps a lot is that he has a deep understanding of systems. So actually, his approach to combine systems view through the thinking process, it's really eye-opening. It makes you realize and understand things that you knew they were there, but you didn't know how they are combined and how this whole thing synthesized to something new. So actually, it's a course that provides you not only with tools how to handle work problems, but how to face life and how to proceed in life. And if you consider yourself as a system, then you can have a goal of your system, of you, and how to proceed and go forward in any environment. So, for example, talking about me, because my background is always in manufacturing, experiencing now the services, I can see that I have no problem switching from one to the other, as long as you know the concepts and how these things, they keep the parts together. So I think it's a really valuable course, this one, and especially when it's taught by Mr. Dettmer, which is something really unique.
So drum buffer rope in a very large cheese factory, and then the thesis you're working on at the moment, what you've been working on is in a clinic in Cyprus. Can you tell us how you got from the basement linen cleaning to the operations room?
Okay.
Because to put it, I know you, and I wished I could have been watching you doing it. Basically, you knocked on the door of this clinic, and you said, "I've got these strange ideas. I want to try out on you." Can I go into the operation theatre and start, using these strange tools? And they basically said, well, we like you, Spyros, but maybe not there. And they said, but you can go to the basement and help with the washing machine.
Yeah, something like that, not exactly. What happened, it was that first of all I wanted to focus to something else than manufacturing.
Yeah.
And I chose the service sector and the healthcare. So I went there to the biggest private clinic and the oldest one in Cyprus. I talked with the managing director, explained to him that I'm doing a thesis with the University of Strasbourg, so I'm not crazy. And
You're certified crazy.
Yeah. And that I wanted to do an action research. Action research, what that means? It's a research, but you put it in action. It's not only research. So actually, we should implement things and improve things so the clinic would have a benefit of it, and I would have a benefit of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't obviously take me from the cheese and put me in the operations rooms. So they wanted to be convinced first. So I started. We agreed that I would start with a supportive system. Let's call it like that. That could be maintenance, kitchen, housekeeping, and we chose to go to the linen system.
Yeah.
We worked there for 1 year and a half. We had results. They were satisfied with the results, so they agreed with me to move forward and go into the operation rooms. This is an advice also that I had taken from Professor Nobre, my supervisor back in University of Strasbourg, and he was right, of course. That worked. So now I have just started working on the operation rooms, and I can see similarities. Instead of sheets, there are patients, or cheeses, or bottles, or buses, or travelers, or whatever. Always there is a flow to focus on.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you've counted how many books you've read about this subject and the environment around this subject. 100. What would be your recommendation of the books to read about the theory of constraints and the thinking processes, and in what order? Is that a possible question? I know it's not an easy one, but
the first one that I would recommend is The Goal.
Okay.
Because it's not a how-to book. It's a book that puts you into the scene of what's there. Yeah. It's a bestseller book. There's a reason for that.
And just because people might not understand, even though the goal is a novel about a factory, manufacturing, you're recommending this for anybody who wants to be interested in the theory of constraints, even if they're in services or something completely
For
different,
sure,
right?
yes, absolutely.
The ideas are generic.
Yes, are generic, as you say, yes. So first of all, I would recommend The Goal.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would recommend to take some time off. And then read The Critical Chain.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone has read these two books, the next one that I suggest is The Haystack Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy book. You need time to read it, but it really grounds you.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I would not at the same time. After The Haystack Syndrome, I would recommend Bill Dettmer's book, The Logical Thinking Process, which is a book that takes you very smoothly from a general perspective down to the details. So even if someone doesn't understand how to do things and realizes how to do it, still it's a very useful book to understand what the logical tools are, why someone should learn them, and how they can help you. And from there are many other books that are out there from different authors. I would suggest also to read about systems, book about systems, because they are really interconnected. TOC is a systemic methodology. So the more you read, the more you understand the basics, and the more become part of your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is the order I would do it.
Okay, so 18 years ago, you came across the theory constraints and its the related ideas of the thinking processes. How important has that been these past 18 years in your work and your life, your career?
I don't know how they could have been without the theory of constraints, to be honest. Because from the moment you realize certain disciplines, certain ways and certain tools, you cannot really work differently. You want to put a plan, you go and you start building cold trees. Because this is what you have learned, this is what you know, this is what you love. And you don't really know, I didn't really know another tool how to do it. And I have 2 master's degrees. Through my academic life, I learned in chunks different disciplines, but I never learned how all these things, they are connected together. And I believe this is the biggest benefit that you get from a systemic perspective, and if you enrich it with a theory of constraints. So actually, they really helped my career because it keeps you focused, and it keeps you it keeps you in a methodological way, and it really, there is a reason for whatever you do, actually. So there is a great benefit. I didn't know how I would do what I have done without those concepts and these theories.
Focus is a word that comes up often around the theory of constraints. You just mentioned it. Can you tell me why that's important? In what way it influences the way you work or the way you look at things? Why focus?
No, focus is a way to take away from your attention 1 million things and concentrate in that one. And I believe that focus is part of nature. For example, if you focus the electrical energy of nature, you have a strike. A nail will go through the wood because you focus, you force, you direct all the force to just a single point. So focus is important because the more focused you are, the more effective or efficient you can be. So many people don't know how to do it. It sounds logical, but you don't know how to do it. Now, the theory of constraints provides you with the tools. And now, after this course, I know even better how to do it. How to be focused. This is key. This is one of the necessary conditions for success.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'm sure your journey will continue with lots of interesting stories. I look forward to being able to interview you again in a few years' time to find out what other crazy things you've been up to with the theory of constraints and the logical thinking processes, right? So you've gone through a lot of cheese, linen, now you're in the operations room in a clinic. I don't quite know what you'll be doing next, but I'm sure it'll be very interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Philip. Thank you very much.